Welcome to another episode of the Sports Time Traveler. Today we have an incredibly exciting game from 60 years ago. The title of the article is NFL 12-15-63, The Oddity and the Ecstasy. Subtitle: The oddest division title scenario in NFL history created an intriguing matchup at Yankee Stadium. Introduction from the Sports Time Traveler. As I previously reported in the Sports Time Traveler, the NFL division titles in 1963 came down to the final games of the season on Sunday, December 15th, 1963, in both the Eastern and Western divisions. Western Division. In the West, it was a straightforward scenario. Chicago, 10-1-2, led two-time defending NFL champion Green Bay, 10-2-1, by half a game. Green Bay had the good fortune of playing the league's worst team in their season finale, the San Francisco 49ers, who were just 2-11. So the Packers' chances of winning were excellent, and they were a 16-point favorite. The Packers game was played on Saturday, December 14th, 1963, in San Francisco. Surprisingly, the game was tied at halftime at 14. But in the third quarter, Bart Starr connected for his second 50-plus yard touchdown pass of the game to give the Packers a 21-14 lead. And that was all they needed, and they held on to win 21-17. Starr was the star of the game, passing 18 for 28 for 337 yards, including those two TD passes of 50 and 53 yards. Now that the Packers had won, the Bears had to defeat the Detroit Lions 5-7-1 at home in Wrigley Field to win the division on Sunday. The Lions were not going to be a pushover. Their losing record was deceptive. They had just ripped apart one of the top teams in the East the week before with a 38-14 victory over the Browns. And the week prior to that, the Lions had tied Green Bay on Thanksgiving. The game would start at 1:05 p.m. Central Time at Wrigley Field on Sunday, December 15th, 1963. Eastern Division. In the East, it was one of the oddest situations in NFL history. Here were the standings of the top four teams going into Sunday's final game of the season. First place, New York, 10-3. Second place, Pittsburgh, 7-3 with three ties, 1.5 games back. And a third place tie between the Cleveland Browns and the St. Louis Cardinals, both at 9-4 and 1 game back. Looking at these standings, there is an immediate oddity. How can Pittsburgh be in second place if they are a half game behind the third place Browns and Cardinals? It looks like an error. It was not. And it gets even stranger. Looking at these standings, you would not imagine that the final game of the season, which just happens to be between the first place Giants and second place Steelers, would be the battle for the division title. How could a team that is 1.5 games back with only 1 game to play have a chance to win the division? And yet, this is exactly what the situation was on the morning of Sunday, December 15th, 1963. The explanation. The NFL in 1963 looked at winning percentage to determine a team's place in the standings, and they treated ties as if they hadn't happened. The Steelers at 7-3 with 3 ties had a winning percentage of 700, while the Browns and Cardinals at 9-4 had a winning percentage of just 692. Accordingly, the Steelers were officially in second place, even though they were a half game behind the third place Browns and Cardinals. The East gets even more bizarre. It gets even weirder because the Steelers were playing the Giants. The Browns and Cardinals were technically eliminated from division title contention. How could that be if they were just 1 game behind the Giants? Again, it comes down to winning percentages. The Cardinals and Browns are out because any outcome of the Steelers-Giants game would leave them in second place at best. Can you explain that one? Yes, it sounds crazy, but it's easiest to explain by showing a couple of examples. Naturally, if the Giants won the final game, it would clear up all the confusion. Here's what the standings would look like if the Giants beat the Steelers and the Browns and Cardinals won their games as well. In that scenario, it would be first place New York at 11-3, second place tie Cleveland and St. Louis at 10-4, one game back, fourth place Pittsburgh at 7-4 with three ties, 2.5 games back. The Browns and Cardinals in this scenario would finish a game behind the Giants with a lower winning percentage, and the Steelers would fall all the way to fourth. In fact, even if the Cardinals and Browns lost their final game and finished 9-5, the Steelers would still finish fourth based on winning percentage if they lost to the Giants. The Steelers' miracle scenario. But take a look at what would happen if the Steelers won the final game, even if the Browns and Cardinals also won. The final standings in the Eastern Division in this scenario would look like this, with the Steelers winning the division even though their record would have them a half game behind the other three teams. It would be first place Steelers at 8-3 with three ties, a half game back. Second place tie between the Giants, Cardinals, and Browns, all at 10-4. The Steelers would win it because their winning percentage would be better. The Steelers' reason to believe. The Steelers have good reason to believe they can win the game despite being 7-point underdogs. Back on week 2 of the season, they actually shut out the Giants 31-0. However, Y.A. Tittle, the Giants' great quarterback, did not play in that game. Traveling back in time to experience the game. Naturally, the sports time traveler had to travel back in time precisely 60 years to catch the Giants-Steelers game at Yankee Stadium. The game was starting at 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, December 15th. It was not televised live in New York, but it was on the radio on WNEW. I caught the radio broadcast. And now, here's my story on the game. Giants versus Steelers for the NFL Eastern Division title, Yankee Stadium, December 15th, 1963. I'm here in New York, exactly 60 years ago, and I just finished listening to the Giants-Steelers game that decided the NFL Eastern Division. There was a sellout crowd of Yankee Stadium of just over 62,000 fans. The game was huge for Pittsburgh. It was arguably the biggest game in franchise history, as they entered the game having never won an NFL playoff game, and this was a de facto playoff game. It was big for the Giants as well, as they were trying to win the East for the third straight year and fourth time in 5 years. Each of their division crowns had been followed by a loss in the NFL title game. Their quarterback, the great Y.A. Tittle, has never won an NFL championship. To accomplish that, the Giants must first win this game. The radio broadcast of the game was sensational. The play-by-play call for most of the game was by one of my all-time favorite announcers, Marty Glickman. In case you don't know the backstory on Marty Glickman, before he became one of the best play-by-play men, he was one of the two sprinters on the 1936 USA track team at the Berlin Olympics that were not allowed to run. Glickman contended for the rest of his life that he and his fellow sprinter Sam Stoller were kept from running in the 4x100-meter relay because they were Jewish, and American Olympic chief Avery Brundage bowed to pressure from the Nazis. You can listen to Glickman's radio call of the Giants-Steelers game just as I did. If you go to the written version of the Substack article, I have the YouTube link that has the radio broadcast. If you don't have time to listen to the tape of the game, here's what I thought were the highlights. At the 2-minute mark on the tape, Marty Glickman describes the field conditions, in which part of the field is frozen solid and parts of the field are not, making footing inconsistent. This morning's New York Times predicted a high temperature of just 26 degrees. At 4:39 on the tape, Glickman explains that the Giants need to win or tie to win the division, while the Steelers would win the division if they win the game. The Steelers, if they win, would have an 8-3-3 record for a winning percentage of .727, while the Giants with a loss would have a 10-4 record for a winning percentage of .714. The Steelers received the opening kickoff. At the 7:20 mark, listen as Steelers running back Theron Sapp fumbles at the Steelers' 24-yard line on the first play from scrimmage, and the Giants' Jimmy Patton recovers it. Sapp just had the best game of his career last week, rushing for 119 yards and scoring the winning touchdown on a 24-yard run with under 2 minutes to go in Dallas. It was that great run that put the Steelers in this de facto Eastern title game today. Despite the outstanding field position, the Giants couldn't move the ball at all after they recovered the fumble and actually lost 4 yards and had to settle for a field goal attempt. They made the field goal, and that put them on the board first with an early 3-0 lead. Listen again at the 10:20 mark as Don Chandler's kickoff is taken at the 15-yard line by Gary Ballman of the Steelers. He runs it back all the way to the Giants' 28-yard line, a 57-yard return. But the Giants' defense stops the Steelers from gaining a first down, and the Steelers also have to settle for a field goal attempt. However, the kicker, Lefty Lou Michaels, who also plays defensive end, misses on the 30-yard field goal attempt. The Giants take the ball back, but at the 15:10 mark on the tape, running back Joe Morrison fumbles on 2nd and 1 from his own 33. Now the Steelers have great field position again. Listen next at the 17-minute mark on the tape as Steelers quarterback Ed Brown drops back to pass from his own 33 on 3rd and 10. He completes a pass on the left side to Ballman at the 15. Ballman then races down to the goal line where he is stopped, and he fumbles. The Giants' Eric Barnes recovers the ball in the end zone and runs it back all the way to the Giants' 34. The crowd noise is deafening as Glickman yells, "A fantastic play. They'll be talking about that one for a long time." Glickman says that at the 18:16 mark on the tape. It's an incredible turn of events. Then at the 19:05 mark on the tape, the Giants almost get the game's first down with a 12-yard run on 2nd and 12 from the Giants' 32. But when the chains come out, it's short by inches. Neither team has had a first down, and this is the 5th possession of the game. At the 20:29 mark on the tape, the Giants finally get a first down as they fake the run on 3rd and inches, and Y.A. Tittle passes over the middle to Aaron Thomas to get to the Steelers' 41 for a gain of 15. At 21:15 on the radio broadcast, Tittle throws a perfect pass deep to Del Schaffner for a touchdown. The extra point kick hits the crossbar and is no good. The Giants' lead is 9-0. Y.A. Tittle's touchdown pass breaks his own NFL single-season touchdown passing record with 34 in 14 games. Special note from the Sports Time Traveler. I interrupt this article for a special note. Y.A. Tittle is so valuable to the Giants that earlier in the week he was named the MVP of the NFL for 1963. This is quite remarkable given that Jim Brown broke the NFL's all-time single-season rushing record 2 weeks ago. Tittle received 33 first-place votes to just 7 for Jim Brown. Now, back to the game. At the 26-minute mark on the tape, the Steelers have finally been able to move the ball and have it 1st and 10 from the Giants' 48. On the next play, Steelers quarterback Ed Brown is intercepted by Dick Lynch at the Giants' 10, and he returns the ball back to the Giants' 44. It's another huge defensive play for the Giants. The Giants are then able to drive downfield and have 1st and goal at the 5. Listen at this point at the 34-35 mark on the tape as Glickman describes a really wild play. Tittle pitches to Frank Gifford, who looks to pass, but Gifford has nothing, and he laterals the ball to center Greg Larson. Larson then laterals back to Y.A. Tittle, and Tittle laterals it back to Gifford again, and Gifford passes into the end zone for an incomplete. With genuine excitement in his voice, Marty Glickman yells, They were playing basketball with it, literally. After a penalty pushes the Giants back to the 20-yard line, listen again at the 36-10 mark on the tape as Tittle's pass is intercepted at the 2-yard line, ending the Giants' scoring threat. Giants 9, Steelers nothing, end of first quarter. The Steelers are stifled deep in their own territory after they had intercepted the ball and have to punt. The Giants then take over with good field position at the Steelers' 47, but the Giants can't move it either and they punt away. Now the Steelers mount a strong drive and reach the Giants' 14-yard line where they go for it on 4th and 1. Again, the Giants' defense comes up huge with a stop, but it's very close. Listen at the 50:04 mark on the tape as Glickman announces the results of the chain measurement. He yells, "It is short! Giants ball! A magnificent stand by the Giants defensive unit." At 51:07, Glickman tells us that Alex Webster is available on the sidelines but has not played. Webster, the Giants' usual starting fullback, is considered one of the keys to the Giants' offense, but he has been injured and was not expected to play. This was considered a huge blow for the Giants and one that could turn the game in the favor of the Steelers. The Giants' drive stalls, and they punt to the Steelers, who take the ball at their own 38. The Steelers again drive into Giants territory. Listen at the 59:48 mark as Brown passes on 3rd and 10 at the Giants' 37. It's incomplete, and the Steelers try for a 42-yard field goal. Stay with the tape and listen as the Steelers fumble the ball on the field goal attempt. The Giants recover with 2:28 to play in the first half. Keep listening as the first play called by Tittle is a bomb to Del Schaffner that is completed at the Steelers' 13-yard line with 2 minutes to play in the half. A few minutes later at 1:05:30 on the tape, Tittle passes to Joe Morrison for his second touchdown pass of the game, extending Tittle's NFL season record to 35 touchdown passes. And this time, the extra point is good. The Giants take a commanding 16-0 lead just before halftime. At this point, we hear Glickman tell us that in Chicago, the Lions lead the Bears 7-3 in the second quarter. Everything is going perfectly for fans in Yankee Stadium. Then the Steelers take the kickoff and drive all the way to the Giants' 21-yard line. But once there, Brown fires 3 straight incomplete passes, and lefty Lou Michaels comes back on the field for his third try at a field goal. This time it's good, and with 7 seconds to play in the first half, the Steelers are finally on the scoreboard. Giants 16, Steelers 3, halftime. The Giants open the second half, taking the kickoff, but have to punt away quickly. At the 1:29:30 mark on the tape, the Steelers' John Henry Johnson breaks free and runs 48 yards all the way to the Giants' 10. Then at 1:32:54 on the tape, on 3rd down and 21 at the 21-yard line, Ed Brown throws for a touchdown. Suddenly, the Pittsburgh Steelers are back in the game with the score 16-10 Giants. Yankee Stadium is noticeably quieter now. The game is in doubt after the Giants had been in control the entire first half. At 1:35:50 on the tape, listen as Glickman says the momentum right now seems to have gone over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Keep listening at this point as an incredible sequence of bang-bang plays occurs. Beginning at the 1 hour and 36-minute mark on the tape, the Giants have the ball at 3rd and 7 on their own 24. Tittle throws to Frank Gifford, who makes a one-handed catch at midfield. Glickman screams, "Talk about your big plays." Gifford came up with a magnificent catch. At top speed, he reached down with one hand, his right hand, and he pulled it off his ankle tops. This play invigorates the crowd and puts the ball on the Steelers' 47. On the next play, Gifford catches a pass down to the 22. And just one quick play later, Tittle throws a 22-yard touchdown pass to Joe Morrison, extending the record yet again to 36 touchdown passes in a single season. The Giants' drive covered 78 yards in 6 plays, but 76 of those yards were on the 3 consecutive pass plays, 2 to Gifford and the touchdown pass to Morrison. It's Giants 23, Steelers 10 with 8:49 to play in the third quarter. The Giants soon had the ball back again after a defensive stop, and at 1:42:40 on the tape, Tittle passes deep to Aaron Thomas at the Steelers' 31. A 15-yard penalty is tacked on, and the Giants suddenly have 1st and 10 on the Steelers' 15, and there is now just 5:50 to go in the third quarter. Tittle then throws to Frank Gifford at the 1-yard line on the next play. And now we hear that the Bears have taken the lead in Chicago, 10-7. It's Bears 10, Lions 7 in Wrigley Field in Chicago. At 1:44:35 on the tape, the Giants run it in from the 1, and the score is now 30-10 Giants in Yankee Stadium. At the 1:50:10 mark on the tape, the Giants get the ball right back when Barnes intercepts Ed Brown in the end zone. But the Giants end up punting right away to the Steelers. With 50 seconds to go in the third quarter, Brown connects on a 40-yard touchdown pass, and the Steelers are back within 13 points after 3 quarters. It's Giants 30, Steelers 17 at the end of 3 quarters. We now hear that the Bears' lead is up to 17-7, but soon we hear Detroit has scored again, and it's 17-14 Bears. Meanwhile, in Yankee Stadium, the Steelers are finding ways to hang in the game. At the 2:02:20 mark on the tape, the Steelers recover a fumble on their 46-yard line with 11:20 to go in the game. A few minutes later, the Steelers try another field goal. This one is short, and the Giants get the ball back. At 2:08:30 on the tape, the Giants are driving with 8:05 to go in the game from their own 25. Tittle throws to Frank Gifford at the 40 for an important first down to keep the clock moving. Glickman exclaims, "Frank Gifford is playing a magnificent football game today." After the Giants miss a field goal attempt, the Giants' Jimmy Patton intercepts Brown again with just over 5 minutes to go in the game, and that pretty much ices things. And we now hear that the Bears have defeated the Lions 24-14 in Chicago. The Chicago Bears will be hosting the NFL title game in 2 weeks. They've dethroned the 2-time defending champion Packers in the Western Division. Back in Yankee Stadium, the game's not quite over yet. The Giants try another field goal attempt at the 2:19:30 mark on the tape. Listen to Glickman's call with 2:30 to go in the game. It's good. The Giants go up 33-17. At the 2:27:10 mark on the tape, listen as the crowd counts down the last few seconds of the game. And Glickman announces, "The Giants have won it 33-17. And the Giants are being mobbed. The goalposts are being shaken, and they'll come down in just a moment or two. And the Giants are trying to battle their way into their own locker room." Y.A. Tittle was sensational in the game. He passed 17 for 26 for 303 yards and threw 3 touchdown passes to extend his all-time single-season record for touchdown passes with 36. Frank Gifford, who caught several important passes, ended up with 5 receptions for 94 yards in the game, and the Giants' defense came up big, forcing 5 turnovers. The Giants have now won their 3rd consecutive Eastern Division championship, and they will play the Bears for the 1963 NFL title game in 2 weeks on December 29th in Chicago. The Sports Time Traveler will be there. Special note from the Sports Time Traveler: if you look in the comments on the YouTube radio broadcast I've been following here, you will see that 4 years ago, a person with the handle @WhyNoNai says he was at the game in 1963, and that Gifford's catch, the one he made off his ankle tops in the third quarter, was the pivotal point in the game and was the greatest catch of Frank Gifford's career. Incredibly, I have been able to find a silent video of highlights from the game. If you look in the written version of this article on Substack, you'll see it right at the bottom of the article. At the 1:55 mark on that video, you can partially see Frank Gifford's magnificent catch off his ankle tops. And you can also see his somewhat routine next catch, which set up the Morrison touchdown catch, the one that put the Giants up 23-10. Y.A. Tittle's crisp passes are really something to behold on this videotape. It's no wonder the bald eagle was voted MVP in 1963. Tittle's pass that Gifford caught off his ankle tops swung the momentum of the game back to the Giants, and they rolled to victory and the Eastern Division title. At the end of the video, watch as Giants fans pour onto the field and tear down the goalpost. And so the division title did not end in an oddity, but it did end in ecstasy for the Giants fans. One other note. Across the Harlem River from Yankee Stadium, one day earlier, in an AFL game, the New York Jets lost to the Buffalo Bills 19-10. The game was significant because about 5,000 fans witnessed the last sporting event ever to be played in the old Polo Grounds. That's all for today. Thanks for reading.